This is part 9, if you can believe it, of the restoration of this Singer sewing machine. We're going to put it together today, and we're going to get it on its way home, so here we go. Okay, this is the only part of the assembly process that ever makes me nervous. When we re-veneered this top, we covered the holes that come in from the bottom that allow us to screw this collar to the top. And the last thing you want to do at this stage of the game is to drill a hole through your new veneer in the wrong spot. So what I've done is I put the collar on, we rock it up, and identify and double check every single one of these holes, there's 6 of them, and make sure the collar's behind them. Don't go drilling through a hole over here and put a hole in your veneer. Even planning this makes me nervous. I'm being very, very honest with you. And obviously we don't want to blow through our veneer, so what we're going to do is take a wooden block, this is a piece of maple, we'll put it under each hole before we drill, and that'll keep us from tearing out the veneer. And don't be afraid to double and triple check before you start drilling, because the last thing you need is a mistake right now. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Nothing south of this. There's nothing here. Stay away from these holes. This is your last one right here. Here we go. God, this makes me nervous. All right, some of y'all out there are probably laughing at me. But I got to tell you what, this about gives me a heart attack, this part. I hate this part. We got them. We got the 2 screws in the right holes. We got the holes drilled. We run the rest of the screws through here, and we'll continue. Okay, next up is the spring assembly. This screw hole here is stripped. I think we noted that when we took this out. There's all sorts of ways to fix it. Well, let me show you a quick way. Take a toothpick, put some glue on it, stick it down in the hole, snap it off flush. Put your screw back in and run it down. And in it goes. All is well. Now you tighten the tension on the spring by turning this where you want it and then tightening that nut. and we're gonna start it there, and we'll see how that works for us. We'll put the back ones on first, because as you remember, we needed this loose so we could get the pivoting part of the drop-down assembly in. And there we go. I'm going to mount all 4 of these on here off camera, and I'll bring you back. Okay, I've taken this this piece here, spread these apart, slip this in, hook the chain to the spring, and now all I've got to do is run the screws into the base of these 2 here, and that part will be done. Okay, we're at the front of the table. You remember what a mess these things were. Just in case you forgot, that's the drawer hinge. It just goes into this little protrusion there. There's the hinge. Remember what a mess these were. And we just pop that in there, run the screws in. Okay, it's time to marry the base back to the top. Here we go. And as you remember, it goes in with only 4 screws. The base is on. Next comes the drawer frames. And remember, the machine is upside down. So one way that you want these drawer rabbets to be facing down, so when you flip it up, it faces up. And in case you forgot which way they go, the screws face out. The little lock assembly faces to the front. And when it's upside down, obviously the rabbet for the drawer is like that. So you can't mess it up. You keep those things in mind. Goes in with four screws. Just line it up to the old holes. And as I told you when I disassembled it, I have really good luck using a real long bladed screwdriver. So let me run the screws in both of these, and I'll bring you right back. Okay, all the drawer cases are on now. So next come the drawer case clips, and they're just held on with 2 screws each. Just like that. I got 4 to do, so I'll bring you back. Okay, the drawers are all back in, the clips are all back in, everything's nice and tight. Now we got to flip this thing over. I don't know how many of you were taking bets I was going to have a hernia or a rupture, but I did okay. Put our machine dogs back in, and I put a little bit of rub and buff on these to kind of match the base. They're sometimes seen in a kind of a copper color, so I thought this was a nice compromise. Now when you put the machine on, here's a tip. If you take a rubber band, hopefully I got a big enough rubber band here, it doesn't break, and stretch it between these 2 dogs and get it down on the square part, it'll hold them up. You can set the machine on there, and once the machine's on there, you just take a knife or a razor, a pair of scissors, and cut the rubber band off. So let's see if we can get this machine on. I'm going to move you. She's on. We tighten our set screws, which didn't come off. There we go. I think our spring tension's pretty good. Don't have to worry about that rubber band that popped off. Guess we put the lid on next. Just go on with these little screws here. About 2 weeks have passed since we finished the sewing machine, and unfortunately the owners just can't be with us for the reveal. Hurricane Michael hit the Gulf Coast about 2 weeks ago, and that, as well as some other issues in their life, have prevented them from being with us today. But with the owner, we've put together a little tribute to the original owner of this machine, and I hope you enjoy it, because it's these family memories that make preserving these antiques so very important. Here we go. This beautiful lady is Sarah May Bechtel. She was born Sarah May Fenimore in Camden, New Jersey in 1899. She lived in Camden until 1917, which is when she met and married her beloved husband, William Bechtel. William was a fisherman on the Delaware River, and Sarah a homemaker, which included making clothes for her family on this very Singer Treadle machine. They both lived in Pen Grove, New Jersey, where they raised their family. They had 9 children, 6 boys and 3 girls, including Paul Bechtel Sr., who was the father of the current owner. She also had 21 grandchildren. The Bechtels were married for 31 years until Mr. Bechtel passed in 1948. A few years after his death, and with most of the children on their own, Sarah and her sons William Jr. and Paul moved to Oswego, New York for a fresh start at life. Sarah's death on May 13, 1969, after a short illness, was unexpected and devastating. The sewing machine was then in possession of her son, William. William passed away in August of 1985, and the machine was passed on to the current owner's father, Paul Sr. The current owner was given the machine in December of 1988, so for roughly 30 years it's been in the possession of the current owner. It followed him throughout his military career, and he settled in Florida with his wife, Renee. The machine was stored in their garage most of the time, so the elements did take their toll. Mr. Bechtel's fondest memories of his grandmother was going to her house for lunch during school. He remembers playing with the treadle on the sewing machine as a young boy. The restored machine will find a place in the Bechtels' dining room with a photograph of his grandmother, Sarah May, placed on top for all to see. He then intends to leave the machine to his daughters as a family heirloom to remember their family history.